Why did I choose Maryville College in the 1970s? I can't remember that far back. I graduated from Maryville High School in 1972. Obviously, I was a basketball player there. Coach Baird, I knew from just being around the community. I went to school with his children. Annie and Weldon Baird were a year or two older than I was, but I knew Coach Baird. He talked to me about coming up here. I had a chance to play with a couple of other local Blount County High School athletes, Mike Morton, who played up at Townsend, and Kenny Talbot, who played at Everett High School. Both of those schools are long gone now due to the consolidation. But it just made sense. I wanted to continue to play, and I had no problem with staying in the Maryville community.
Tell us one of your favorite memories as a student athlete.
Well, one of the things I remember most is I really grew up on this campus. I would come over a lot, and there used to be an old gymnasium that stood, I think it was about where the Rose Garden is now. Next to Fairweather, in between Bartlett and Fairweather. And that's where I came to play basketball when it was too cold to play outside, or the high school gym wasn't available. And, I can remember several nights, Eldria Hurst would come walking in and say, "Randy, it's about time for you to leave." But he always allowed me to play, and so, that was a lot of fun. And then I had several of my friends that I grew up with that lived in what they call the old College District and on down Court Street and Duncan Road, all that whole area. And I just loved hanging out on the campus. But as a student, things were a little different. My first couple of years, I didn't let go of my high school friends. And so I really just went to school, played basketball, and then socially interacted with them more than I did on campus. But as I grew older and through my 4 years here, in particular, my junior and senior years, I started hanging out with the guys on campus. And what's funny is I still have lifelong friends that I went to high school with, but probably the guys that I'm closest to now as a mature adult are the ones that I stay in contact with and still try to get together with from time to time. Why did I get involved in coaching? I really felt like at a very early age that I wanted to coach. Ted Wilson, who was the old football coach at Maryville High School, used to run a camp in the summer that was sponsored by, I believe it was Blount National Bank, which I think evolved into the Bank of Maryville, which is evolved into First Tennessee now. But he talked me into working for him during that camp, and I knew right then that I really enjoyed working with young people, and of course loved the game of basketball. I had a lot of coaches as I grew up within the Maryville City school system that had a huge impact on my life. Bill Phillips, who a lot of people don't even remember him as a coach, lived 2 streets over from my house, and I would ride to school with him every day, ride home with him every day, and we became very close, and I just liked his life. I thought he was a shop teacher back in the days when they had mechanical drawing and all that other stuff, but I knew I didn't want to do that, but I knew I wanted to coach because of him. And then Jimmy Campbell, who was a Maryville College graduate, had a huge impact on my life. Jim Campbell was the first guy that I ever played for that would coach with a sense of humor. You know, before that, everybody was real strict, old school disciplinarian type coaches, but Jim Campbell actually made it fun. And that had a huge impact on how I tried to approach things with basketball. And then, of course, coming up here and working with Coach Baird. Coach Baird was as good a gentleman, and I'm talking about just as morals and values as any person that I've ever come in contact with. I never knew that man to say one bad word about anybody. And, you know, he fought some battles on this campus in the early part of the latter 70s, but he still would always come to work with a smile on his face and enjoyed getting out and shooting his two-handed set shot from half court and all those things, but was just a true gentleman. As soon as I graduated from Maryville in '76, I went on to get my master's at UT. Dr. Borowiak, who was the head of the physical education department here at Maryville, helped me get a grad assistant over at Tennessee, and I actually was a touring elementary school physical education teacher. That was real interesting, but you know, from that point, my first job was at Lenoir City High School, and I had the opportunity to again work with a gentleman that was perfect for me as an early coach. Willie Joe Smalley was the head coach at Lenoir City, and he was one of these guys that loved going to clinics, loved going and see other coaches work, and I'd just tag along with him, and had opportunities to see Hubie Brown, who was the coach of the Atlanta Hawks at that time. We went down and spent 4 days with him. We'd go to Tennessee and watch practices, Ray Mears, and then, you know, Don DeVoe and people like that who were great coaches in their day. And, you know, Willie Joe Smalley taught me the importance of preparation, organization. He was one of the first guys I've ever seen that would break his practice plan down by minutes and segments, and just things like that had a huge impact on me. And this was a guy that gave his entire adult life to his profession. Never got married, and never had his own family, but really was very involved within the community down at Lenoir City. And so it was a great first job for me. This job opened up in 1980, and I applied. I went through the interview process. Brick Brams was vice president of student development, or maybe sort of like a provost. He was sort of second in charge. Dave Cartledge, the chairperson of the religion department. You know, I got through at the interview and I thought, Dave Cartledge talked more than I did in this interview. If you know Dave, you would understand that. But I didn't know if I had a chance to get the job or not, and I was working the University of Kentucky camp on their campus in Lexington, and they called me and offered me the job, and it was mid-July. I took Rick Bird's place here in 1980. 80-81 was my first year. I was 25 years old, wasn't married, had no children, so I was able to invest, you know, pretty much my life into this job, and you know, the rest is history. Oh, the ODAC. You know, I think the college recognized that we needed to be in a conference. It was just too tough putting together a schedule, especially for football, an independent schedule. And so we opted to go within the ODAC, the Old Dominion Athletic Conference. Most of the schools, in fact, we were the only school in the state of Tennessee. Everybody else was in Virginia, and then Guilford came in North Carolina, and they sort of expanded their conference a little bit more. But it was a tough league, and You know, Coach Bird, I think he put together the schedule the way he wanted it, but I sure didn't like it because we'd leave on a Thursday, we'd travel and play on a Friday night, play on a Saturday night, hang out in the gym all Sunday, and then have to sit around and wait, play Monday night, come home after the game on Monday night, get in here at 4 or 5 a.m. It was just it was tough. It was hard on the kids. It was hard on the coaches. You know, we were driving at that time. And so there were many a nights that I'd have to roll the window down and let the cold winter night keep me awake. And I'd always require one of my players that would talk to me. It's usually one of the guys on the end of the bench, you know. He wasn't concerned about playing time, but he would talk to me on the way home, and some of the conversations we had were pretty deep, but it was just killing time and trying to stay awake. But the ODAC was a very, very good basketball conference. At that time, Roanoke was the powerhouse and a lot of times number one, number two in the country. Hampton-Sydney was really good. You know, Randolph-Macon, just some really good basketball schools. And so it was tough. I still think to this day, the 1984-85 team, which was would that be, I guess, my fourth overall season. I think they made one of the greatest accomplishments of any team I ever had. We won the regular season in the ODAC, and we were the number one seed in the tournament. We lost to Roanoke in the finals at Roanoke. The tournament was always played there in Salem, Virginia, where they played the Final Four for so many years. But that team was very special, and I knew at that point we had turned things around a little bit. You know, I knew that we were headed in the right direction. Well, there again, you know, when the ODAC decided to expand, we just knew it was time to get out because it was just so much travel involved. And it wasn't just an athletic decision, it was an athletic academic decision because our kids were just missing too many classes. So we decided to go back to the independent status. And you know, it was tough putting together a schedule, but we were able to do it. A lot of times we had to play a lot of the NAIA schools, and that made it tougher because they were scholarship situations. But you know, I had a lot of good players come in at that time. The 91-92 team put it all together, and really that team had a chance to win a national championship. I think we finished the year 6th in the country. We made it to the Final 8. We got beat in the round of 8 by Wisconsin-Platteville. That was Bo Ryan's team, the old coach at Wisconsin, and we lost in overtime. I still haven't gotten over the fact that Timmy Lawrence missed a wide open shot from right about there that cost us that game, and we would have had a chance to go on and play in the Final Four, which would have been very special for our program. But, you know, that team was extremely special, and I mentioned Timmy. Timmy was as good of a point guard as I've coached, and you know, we had several good players. And I think a player that really gave us credibility throughout East Tennessee was when I talked Kelvin Richardson into coming up here. Kelvin was a playground legend locally. You know, everybody knew Kelvin because he was a high flyer, you know. And so when I talked him into coming, Bobbatu Willingham from Atlanta transferred from Clark University, and we had him for 3 years. Glenn Cullop from Upper East Tennessee came down as a freshman. But that team was very, very special. I mean, we had great athletes. We were covered in every position. We had depth. You you know, we had shooters, we had it all, and that team was special. And then we just sort of carried it on from there. You know, continued to get good players, continued to recruit some of the best in East Tennessee and Atlanta and the Georgia area. And, you know, we put together some nice teams. Well, it was nice to put together the old GSAC, we called it, the Great South. You know, that was basically the Eastern Division of our USA South today. It was LaGrange, Huntingdon, Piedmont, you know, just that bunch of schools that elected to come together. It was nice because it gave us something to play for. We did not have the automatic bid into the NCAA tournament tied into that because we didn't have the 7 members. But it did at least allow our team to compete for a conference championship. And I think just having that competition along with the opportunity to play in a season-ending tournament that prepared you to go on to the NCAA tournament helped us tremendously. At that time, the NCAA had your Pool A teams, which were the automatic qualifiers, and then you had Pool B, which was all the independents. And a lot of people referred to the basketball Pool B bid as Maryville's bid. I like that, you know. And then Pool C was the at-large teams that may have gotten upset in their conference tournaments or so on. And so we always made it in the Pool B bid. And it, you know, I don't think there's any question it provided us a little bit more or easier access at that time. But it still was quite an accomplishment. You still had to win, neighborhood of 20 wins to get there. And, you know, with a lot of good players, we were able to do that. Well, it's not easy. It makes things a lot tougher just because of this conference and how spread out we are and the quality of teams that are within the conference. It's a real challenge, and you know, I'm not pleased with what we've done over the last 6 years in the conference. I felt like we still should have been competing every year for that automatic, and we've only gotten to the tournament one time. You know, we were in place to win a few tournaments, and I'm talking about conference tournaments. Had some tough injuries that took place. You know, when we lost Jamani Bird, who was a returning player of the year, and we were expecting big things in that next year, and he tears his ACL in August. And so, you know, but those things happen. That's part of basketball. That's part of sports. You deal with injuries. But it's not easy, and it comes with the territory because we're in a location where there's just not a lot of Division III schools, and so we have to travel to play. You know, there's a lot of schools that can play basically their conference tournament without an overnight trip, and that would be amazing if you only had to travel an hour, 2 hours away. 2.5 hours is our closest trip, and we have several overnight experiences. So it comes with the territory. You deal with it. I've been pleased with the way our teams have tried to respond to the challenges, but you know, I wish we would have finished a little stronger, at least in my career. I am a little disappointed in how we finished up in this decade. Oh my, I have had a lot of players come through, and you know, everyone has a different story. One thing that I've always really cherished about my Maryville College experience is the type of people that we attract here. And I think that is what Maryville College is all about. I mean, we get people from various parts of the country, various socioeconomic levels. But with our higher academic standards, it attracts the right kind of people. I've enjoyed coaching, I guess, almost all of them. Some have added to the gray hair and the stress levels, but I've tried to mentor them. With each player, I try to find that right button to push to motivate them. There's a lot of success stories that I could share. But the thing that Coach Placeris and I, we did an unofficial study. We looked at what everybody has done that has graduated from this program, and almost to the T. 100% of them, if they listened to us, if they did what we asked of them, and if they completed their Maryville College tenure, and we're not taking all the credit, believe me, because so many people touch their lives as they go through their 4 years here, but 100% of them are doing well in life. They're prospering as an adult, and meaning they've got a good job, they're a good husband, a good father, and that's what I'm most pleased about, are the people that maybe we did touch their life in a positive way, and hopefully we've given them some memories and some things to fall back on, some value strengthening, some moral strengthening that they've carried on into their adult life. I enjoy being an athletic director as much as I did a basketball coach. I was the AD for 22 years, and the thing that I've tried to do here is I wanted to provide our student athletes with a quality experience, and I think that means, number one, you got to have good coaches, and I was very fortunate to have coaches that have stepped up and done some tremendous things in their lives and for our program. But that's first and foremost. I had a lot of good people that I worked with over the years that I wouldn't trade that relationship for anything. But I wanted to give the athletes a great experience, and from coaching to facilities. We've tried to upgrade our facilities as much as possible. There's always budget restraints there, but we've tried to do that. The athletic experience, where, travel and the food that they eat on the road, the uniforms you put on their backs, all those things. We've tried to upgrade the budgets through the years. Coach Schramm has done a good job in trying to continue that on into this part of the 2000s. So all of those things we tried to do, but probably first and foremost is I wanted us to win. And I tried to challenge every program to raise your standards to where you could compete within Division III. And because I think, that's what makes your experience much more pleasurable. You have a lot more fun when you're winning than when you are losing, believe me. So that was what I wanted to do. And then I wanted to develop what I call the overall presentation of a home game, to where the athletes come in and they feel important and they're able to compete in front of a large crowd. To where it means something, not only to them, to their families, to the Maryville community, to our alumni, and so on. And so that's what I've tried to do, and I think we've been fairly successful at that. We have to continue on. One of the things I'm most proud of is a Saturday afternoon football game. And I had a lot of coaches that contributed to that overall presentation that I'm talking about, but if anybody comes and experiences a Saturday afternoon football game, it's special. It is really special, and I feel like I had something to do with that. But whether it's baseball, softball, tennis, cross country, basketball, I wanted the athletes to have an experience that they deserved. Yeah, I hear you. My family has been very important to me, and I mean, you know, if you stay somewhere for 39 years and maybe your greatest hidden motivation is to do that and be able to share that with family, whether it be my parents, my sisters, cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents. You know, there's a lot of Lamberts in this area, but you know, to be able to share that with them, it was very special to have my mom and dad in the stands, and to see their appreciation and to see their involvement and how the kids enjoyed interacting with them. That was very, very special. Laney's going to be mad at me, but I can't remember what year we got married. It might have been 86, 87, somewhere in there. You know, at that time I knew it was time for me to settle down, and Laney and I had been dating pretty much through my whole Maryville College tenure, and she understood what it meant to be a coach's wife, and she's been very good at that. And then to have my three children, Cammie, that's my stepdaughter. She was with Laney when we got married, and then to have Jason and Wes born during all this, you know, the time we spent running up and down this floor, out on the football field, soccer fields, practicing baseball down on the softball field, whatever it may be, just to grow up with them. You know, this is a great environment for young boys, young ladies to grow up in. I mean, to be around our athletes, to see them on a day-to-day basis, and just to interact with them is really special. I was very fortunate that both of my boys graduated from here, and I'm very proud of that fact, and I know they are, and they've done quite well as coaches and teachers in their professions. So, you know, just to see everybody seem to enjoy what I've enjoyed, it's been very special, and I wouldn't trade that for the world. That may be the greatest perk of this job, is to be able to share that with my family in my own backyard, basically, here in Maryville. In 5 words or less, the words that would describe my experience, or what my players would say their experience at Maryville and playing for Randy Lambert would be like. And I'd say number 1 would be challenging, because I made sure I challenged each one of them. And if that meant getting in their face, if that meant getting them outside of their comfort zone, then that's what, if I felt like that's what they needed, that's what I tried to do. So I was going to challenge them. Number 2, I would hope that they would say it was very rewarding. It was fun. And maybe 2 and 3, rewarding and fun. But I'd like to think that the guys got something other than just the basketball experience out of it. And then I would hope that they had a lot of fun doing it. I guess 4 would be memories. Man, we made some memories over the years, and I mean, even as early as last Friday night when my team played North Carolina Wesleyan here, one of our intangibles for the game was this will be a game to remember. And I think it will be for them, because it was a great game and they played so hard and competed and won it down the stretch. So memories would be all a part of it. And I guess number 5 would be demanding. You know, I think in order to be competitive, you have to pay the price. One of my most favorite sayings is, you know, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. And I think going along with that is, you know, if your goals and dreams are higher than those around you, then your life has to look significantly different than those around you. And, you know, I think, I hope our guys have taken that and have been able to carry that on into their adult life.